today's show.
Maybe we will.
It will be revealed. Okay.
Thank you, time.
Hi, welcome to Ladies of Another View. I'm back, and it's just the two of us today. What's two? There's three amigos. There's two what?
I don't know, a pair of partridges. No, not partridges. That's not right.
Well, the Bobbsey twins is all I can think of, and that's not us. But anyways, I'm here today with Andrea, and I'm Patty, and we are in the second half of the show. We're going to be talking about the Ronald Reagan Minuteman missile place, missile silo. There you go. That you can take tours of, and there's going to be a start party. So we're going to talk about that later in the show. But for now, we're going to talk about worry and stress and how not to do it. I have brought in a stress expert on this, Gary Zimak. Welcome to the show.
Patty, it's great to be on with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I love listening to you. I hear you on the radio once in a while. Yeah. I read your books. And when I call Gary a stress expert, he once was a professional stressor. You stressed, you worried, and you learned how to conquer that. And your latest book is How to Stop Worrying for Good.
Yeah, you know, Patty, I try to be as transparent as possible. And from the time I was a small child, I was one of those people who just worried about everything. And I have a very vivid imagination, and I always seem to be able to conjure up multiple worst case scenarios. That went on for most of my life. And, you know, it sounds really simple, but honestly, a relationship with Jesus Christ is what cured me. And the Lord has been so good to me. And I go out and I try to share what he's done for me with others. And I've been blessed to write several books, and I've been on television and radio and speak across the country. And I'm going to continue to do what I can to bring peace to people.
I think it's interesting that when I was working in marketing, and along comes this new author, Gary Zimak, and he wants to be a speaker. Yeah. He wants to give up his day job. And we're telling him, Gary, maybe not. Maybe you should just have a little something. You need a day job. Do this on the side. But my goodness, you have touched a chord. People want to hear what you have to tell them, right?
You know, it's funny, Patty, that was exactly it. I felt this call. You know, I was a software developer for 30 years, really a traditional job. I was supporting my family that way. And I started feeling this call after I got to know Christ. I mean, literally got to know him, and he helped me to achieve peace. I wanted to work for him in some way. And as you said, and I talked to yourself and many other people, I said, I think I'm being called to do this full time. And everybody said, don't do it. It's a crazy proposition. Well, Patty, I think the Lord intervened, and on January the 6th, 2012, I got laid off from my day job. And it's at that point that my wife said, Gary, look, you were waiting for a sign. You've been wanting to do this. Why not give it a shot? So it's just been about 10 years in full-time ministry now. And the Lord's providing little by little. You know, we've had to cut down, we've had to downsize, we've had to really give up a lot in order to make this work. But thanks be to God, it's working.
What is worry?
Good question. I love this question because I get asked this a lot. Worry is an action. Worry is a conscious action. Unlike fear is an emotion. I can't control fear. But what I can do is control how I respond to that fear. Worry is a negative response to fear. Worry is dwelling on the fear and coming up with the limitless imaginary what if scenarios, or the what happens if this never gets better. You know, it's just dwelling on your fears and completely excluding God's providence from the picture. And I'm a specialist. I can come up with worst case scenarios with the best of them. But that's what it is. It's an action, and it is not a feeling. We can't control our feelings, but we can control how we respond to those feelings.
Where does it switch over from like planning and strategy or wargaming to worry? Because if you could think through the possible scenarios, that's not necessarily the same as worry.
Another great question. You are absolutely right. I would call that concern, and concern's a good thing. And again, as a software guy, I would always have to anticipate what could go wrong. And you know, as a plan to life, as an approach to life, that can be disastrous though, because I can always think of what might really go wrong. But it's good to think of these things and prepare for them. For instance, if your company's beginning to struggle financially, maybe it's time to send out some resumes or look for a new job. If you're not feeling well, you can go to the doctor, as opposed to just sitting around and worrying about what might happen. Worry is essentially an unproductive response to fear. Concern, on the other hand, is looking at that fear and saying, well, is there anything I can do about it? And then going ahead and doing what I can.
Before you really worked on your worrying and trying to change the way you were thinking, give us a picture of what was your life like? Did you lose sleep? Were you paralyzed by all this?
You know, Patty, I was functioning somehow, but I did lose sleep. I lost a lot of sleep. I had stomach problems. I had heart palpitations. I was in the emergency room, I would say at least 5 times, with panic attacks in my early 20s. I really didn't have any major problems, if you will, but I managed to create problems, and I really, my life was miserable. I would categorize myself as hopeless. I went through the motions. I did well in school. I got a job. You know, on the surface, it seemed okay, but there was a sense of hopelessness and just going through the motions. You know, it was a drudge. Life was a drudgery for me, and I really didn't give myself a chance to enjoy anything because I was always anticipating the next problem in life. It wasn't fun.
You probably want to say that you're not a therapist yourself,
Correct.
but I'm wondering, did you ever go to a therapist to get help for this?
You know, amazingly, no. And you know what's funny, Patty, about this? There is, at least when I was younger, and thankfully it's getting better. I just want to say, because of the work that I do encounter a lot of therapists, mainly Christian therapists, who have all, thank God, approved of my work, which I'm really thrilled about. But when I wanted to go to it, I mentioned it to my mom when I was in college, and she said, "You can't do that. Everybody will think you're crazy." So, you know, there was really a negative stigma associated with therapy back in the day. I really believe that's changing now, but no, I never did. I went to my primary doctor, and he gave me, I was on Xanax briefly, tranquilizer, whatever you want to call it. Didn't do me any good. It just made me not care about anything. That was a very brief time on medication. But no, I never went to therapy. I really feel that Christ helped me to break through this. And, you know, a lot of the principles that I would have gotten in therapy, somehow I was able to learn them along the way.
We only have a minute, and we're going to talk a lot more about this in the next segment, but do you think, is there a genetic predisposition to worry, or do you think you learned it in your family, or where did this come from?
You know, there probably is. My mother was a big worrier. My father internalized a lot, so I really don't know what he was thinking. But I don't know. I really believe, and I talked to therapists in the course of my work about this, and they said, you know, some people just seem to be hardwired to be worriers. So I don't know if it was genetic or not, but it started when I was very young.
And yet, you are finding that whether it's genetic or environmental, there are ways to teach yourself not to worry, right?
There are. And pretty much, I know we're going to a break, but it involves controlling your thoughts. So much of it is that.
Okay, we're going to talk about that when we come back, about controlling your thoughts so you don't let worry get the best of you. We'll be right back with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after hours oasis of sanity. Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are once again joined with Gary Zimak. He's the author of Give Up, Worry for Good, and it's a 8-week devotional where you take a look at worry, and day by day you start to let that go and develop some very positive habits and a trust in our Lord that you don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to worry about the future, right? I want to point people to your website before we go any further, followingthetruth.com. Gary is an amazing speaker, very inspirational. As you can see, he's just a regular guy, but he feels like your friend. Right?
Thank you.
When you listen to him,
I'm so regular, Patty. You know me. I couldn't be any more regular. I still can't believe God's using me to do this.
That's what's amazing. It wasn't you, Gary, for sure.
No,
right?
No. Hey, you know, I'm an introvert. I never could. I was always terrified to speak in public, you know, but it's amazing what happens when God plants this desire inside of you. It's working. I don't question him anymore. It's somehow this is working.
Let's take a look at your book. You have 8 weeks of devotions, and you begin with talking about, you know, is it possible to give up worry? And obviously we know your answer, but tell us about it.
You know, I think that's the thing that sometimes intimidates people who are worriers. And you know, the reason I've written so many books about the topic, and most of my ministry is focused on worry and how we can overcome it. And that's why worriers, I can get the mind of a worrier, and they understand. Somebody who worries, they see me being transparent and talking about this. I get it. I understand that when somebody tells me, just don't worry, that's easier said than done. You know, that takes, you need a method, you need a process. So in the book, this idea, the first thing I wanted to establish is the idea of, can I stop worrying? Well, Jesus specifically said in the gospel, don't worry. So if he's saying it, it must be possible. And therefore, I think that is the main point that I wanted to make at the start of the book, that it is possible, but it's a process. And it takes place gradually. At least in my case, it has. And you know what? I'm always going to be an anxious person by nature. That's okay. It's the same thing as a diabetic who can't necessarily be cured, but they can manage the diabetes with insulin. I can manage my worry with the help of the Lord and his written word in the Bible. And that's what's happening.
I know you can stop worrying. How do you stop worrying?
You know, this is going to sound overly simplistic, but it really is. First of all, you just do it. Remember, we talked about worry is an action. It's a response to fear. So how do I just do it? Well, even if I am scared to death, and even if the fear is consuming me, I can open my Bible and I can start reading scripture, or I can pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I am not worrying when I'm praying that prayer. Again, Jesus didn't say, do not ever have fear. He said, do not worry. But you know, the more you do it, the more you get used to trusting in God and his providence, like, well, however this works out, that's the way it's supposed to work out. The more you start having that mindset and having this relationship with Christ every day, then the fear decreases. That's what I've found. So I am less afraid and more willing to trust than I was before, knowing that, yeah, I'm going to have problems. Christ said, in this world, you'll have problems in John 16:33. But he said, be of good cheer. How crazy is that? Be of good cheer. Why? Because I have overcome the world. He's saying, you're going to have problems, but I'm bigger than your problems. And I like that.
In chapter 4, you say, do what you can do to help. So yes, put all your trust in the Lord, but do what you can to help. And I know you wrote part of the introduction or preface to a book that talked about staying out of debt. And you shared in that book that you got yourself in over your head 2 different times. What a recipe for worry, right?
Yeah. And that was because we were used to a certain lifestyle when I was working as a software developer, not extravagant, but extravagant when you're going to full-time ministry and not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from, you know? So we can do things to cause problems for ourselves. We can spend excessively. And, you know, that's part of it. Is there anything I can do? And it gets back to that whole concern aspect of dealing with fear. If I don't have a lot of money, maybe I should cut back. If I'm not feeling well, is there anything I can do? Yeah, I can go to the doctor. I can take care of my health. If I'm worried about my family's security, if I suddenly pass away, I can get life insurance. So, you know, it really comes down to some of us who are worriers, we just start worrying before we even do things. So I think really the first thing we can do is ask ourselves, I'm afraid, can I do anything? Well, I can always pray, but is there anything else I can do? And then do it, because God wants us to do that. He wants us to do what we can using the intellect that he gave us.
So what kind of challenges do you face as you're trying to eliminate worry?
Oh, it's you know what? That's a great question. It is very difficult to trust in an invisible God when all of my problems are so much more real than he is. And that's in a nutshell. When I worry, my problems are more real than God. And I turn on the TV and I look on the internet and I listen to the radio, and everywhere I go, all I hear are reasons why I should worry. But I've got to make that decision to say, you know what? God's real. I can't see him. I can't see the air around me either. I can't see the electricity in my house, but I know they are real. And I've got to start focusing on the truth that God is in control, even though it doesn't seem like it. But that's work, because everywhere we turn, we see reasons why we should worry.
I'm wondering, Gary, listening to the types of things you're talking about right now, where you say, you know, my problems are real, God doesn't seem real. I bet you have people come up to you after your talks and even want to argue with you. But this, but that. Do you experience that at all, where they have all these excuses for why they need to keep worrying?
You know, Patty, most of the people who come to my talks and who I deal with through email, and I got a lot of response. Most of them are willing to go along with what I have to say, because they're just looking to escape, and they find it helpful. But I did encounter a man one time after a retreat that I gave, and he said, you know, it feels that if I'm not worrying, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's where you get to the borderline between concern and worry. And we got to be careful we don't cross that. But, you know, for some of us, why do we worry? Well, we do it because there's some level of comfort there, because we don't want to be blindsided. Again, that software developer part of me doesn't want to be blindsided by an unexpected problem. So I'm going to think of every potential problem and be ready for it just in case. For some of us, though, our minds go on overdrive and we need to reel it in a little bit.
It's such a fine line when you're trying to differentiate between what basic preparedness or caution should I be taking in a situation versus when am I worrying and spending too much time dwelling on it.
Yeah, and I really believe that prayer helps. So that's, at least with me. Sometimes I'm not sure, because sometimes I'll rack my brain thinking, well, there's probably a solution. I just can't think of it at the moment. And generally, I've learned at that point that God wants me to slow it up and trust him. And when he gives me an idea, then I'll run with the idea. But yeah, it's a very fine line, and it's challenging, but it gets easier the more you do it.
Practice makes perfect, right? Yeah. I want to point people once again to Gary's website, followingthetruth.com. You can learn more about his speaking. He has other books too. And if you want to give up worry, definitely check out his book, How to Stop Worrying for Good. Thank you so much, Gary, for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies. It was great to be with you. God bless you both.
Thanks. And we'll be right back after these messages with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Go for Launch 2018 series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Reginald. The winning team is the Flumin River Excellence.
Oh my God!
They won!
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with the most important commercial that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 5 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, it's all come down to this. I'm having a cyber symposium on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. This historical event will be live streamed 72 hours straight on my new platform, frankspeech.com. You can help by getting everybody you know to go to frankspeech.com now. To help support this Cyber Symposium event, I am offering some of the best prices ever on MyPillow products, but they're only offered at frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive MyPillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car!
But how will we?
The car! Your offer's been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing.
But how will we?
The closing!
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we're going to talk about the Ronald Reagan Minuteman Missile State Historical Site, which is around Coopersville, North Dakota. And joining us is the site supervisor, Rob Branting. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
You know, I didn't know that there was this missile site, but Andrea has actually toured it before. So tell us, what is a missile site and how does it become a tourist destination?
Well, with North Dakota, we became more important during the latter half of the Cold War as far as the Minuteman missile force was concerned. Basically, we're looking at one site here. We are the Oscar Zero Missile Alert Facility. There's a lot of acronyms, but we are also associated with the November 33 launch facility. So each missile alert facility was in control of nominally 10 missile silos, and they chose to preserve us and the November 33 site.
How many different missiles were there in the state of North Dakota?
Mostly the Minuteman missile. You're looking at 150 silos in the Grand Forks field. There still are active about 150 missile silos in the Minot field.
Okay.
Wow, I don't think a lot of people know that.
No.
That's a lot of missiles.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Just at one point during the 1980s, had North Dakota seceded from the United States, we would have been the third largest nuclear power on Earth.
What?
I've heard this before.
I don't know that gives me comfort. It makes me wonder, do we need to be worried that we're a target?
Well, that was always a worry during the Cold War period, but these missiles were specifically here to serve as a nuclear deterrent, hopefully to prevent another world war.
So what's the range on them?
With these missiles, they started out with the Minuteman II in this field. It had a single nuclear warhead. Went on to the Minuteman III in the early 70s, had 3 nuclear warheads. About a 6,000 mile range, a little over that.
I'm trying to think where in the world that reaches. Because there's only so much that you can influence, right? So from North Dakota, we're in the middle of this whole continent. How much influence did we have?
You know, there was a particular nation in mind when they developed these missiles, and that was the Soviet Union, today Russia. So the thought was to have the range to cover Soviet targets. Mostly you're going over the North Pole. Had anything ever occurred, they're going on a polar strike route of the bombers and the missiles. But the thought was there was probably stuff headed our way too. It was going to be a very bad day.
I did take my family and tour the silo. It was a few years ago, and it's an interesting place. It's quite a time capsule. You had people who were stationed there, right? So they lived, and they maintained the workers' environments and like the free space, but then also the workspace that they had down below. What was it like working there?
Well, you have to remember there was a lot of people joining the Air Force. Let's say they're from Florida or Texas. They're stationed up here in North Dakota. There's stuff to do back at Grand Forks and Minot, but when you came out to the missile field, it could be very quiet. They did have some recreation spaces here on site, but it could also be very busy if there was times of tension, if there was maintenance issues in the field. Everything topside, we're basically like a big house up here surrounded by barbed wire. It's, you come up the road here, it doesn't look like the most inviting place for a historic site, but we're definitely open for tours. But that was all to support the downstairs structures, the Launch Control Center, in fulfilling their mission of nuclear deterrence.
Yeah, that's kind of the experience I had when I drove up. It looks like you took a wrong turn somewhere because you feel like you're in the middle of a cornfield, and then there's barbed wire and a fence and a parking lot, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but you're in the right place.
Oh yeah, up here we're definitely open to the public. Memorial Day to Labor Day, we're open 7 days a week, 10 to 6.
Have you been busy this year?
Oh, definitely. We had about 1,180 people last month. That was our biggest month since July of 2018.
Okay.
So progressively, we're getting a little bit more busy as time goes along. Of course, last year we were set back a little bit, but pretty busy this year.
Do you get mostly people from North Dakota? Do you get them across the United States? And do you get them from other countries?
All over the world. We get a lot of folks from Europe. Primarily it's North Dakota, and that's why we're here, to help share the story of North Dakota history. But also Minnesota is a big visitor. Wisconsin, we get a lot of people on the I-94 corridor. But we've had a few folks even from Russia and China here this year.
Do you have to worry about spies? Is that something they say, look out if they're kind of hanging back and taking pictures?
Well, not so much anymore. The Grand Forks sites were fairly unique construction-wise. They deactivated all those by the 1997-98 time frame, so everything here is pretty much obsolete.
Get a lot of school groups through?
Oh, absolutely. And we definitely welcome school groups to come through. We're doing an Ask an Expert program out here where you have virtual tours for school groups that can't quite make it up to the Cooperstown area.
One of the sites then, the main one, is a deactivated underground command center. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, we're 50 feet below ground here. I'd actually be talking to you from below ground right now, except we have some tours going on. But we have a launch control equipment building, a support structure to keep everything running for several weeks, possibly after a nuclear attack. Everything is protected by these great big blast doors. And going into the launch control center, there's actually an 8-ton blast door that would protect the 2 missileers inside so they can conduct their mission.
And how many men would be there when it was active?
Typically around 10 minimum. You had 2 launch officers. They're typically in the early 20s down there on what was called a missile alert. And then up above, you had a facility manager, a cook, and then 2 teams of security personnel to secure the missile silos and the control center.
What would a missile alert mean? If you're working there, what was it?
You know, it's kind of an interesting way of just saying work shift. Throughout the Cold War period, they wanted to maintain these missiles on a very high upper 90 percentile, basically alert status, so they could be called upon to retaliate had the Soviet Union attack the United States. You got to remember, if missiles are launching from the Soviet Union, you're having the possibility of, if you're lucky, 30 minutes warning. The president has to make a decision to retaliate, and then everything has to filter through the commands down here to Oscar Zero at the end of the command chain where they would have launched the missiles in retaliation.
Who would have launched them? Would it have been launched in North Dakota, or would somebody else somewhere else be controlling that?
The orders came directly from the president, or what's called the National Command Authority. And then down here in the control centers, it was those 2 missileers with what they call the 2 little brass keys that would turn them simultaneously, and then a backup with another control center in the area to initiate the launch sequence. So they would have turned the keys and launched here.
Do you have any idea what went into choosing those people? Because the question is, would they do it? Would they have the guts to do it? And is there a lot of stress? Do they need maybe a little therapy to help them deal with being in that position?
You know, it's a very diverse field, but a lot of these folks were coming out of college. They're joining, they're in ROTC. They were joining the Air Force. The Air Force puts them through a few months of training out there in what was called Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. You know, they prepare them and make them understand this was a very serious job. You came out to the missile field, typically serving around 4 years, 6 to 8 times a month. You were coming out here to serve. But they had something called a personnel reliability program to just basically check on, you know, the status of how they're feeling. You know, they were so strict you couldn't even take like Benadryl or NyQuil on shift. You just had to be very much alert all the time. And they chose some very fine men and women to perform this role.
I guess I can't imagine. Obviously, I'm not that type of person, but that'd be a lot of stress, I would think, even for somebody who is tough. Just to know that you might be that person to turn the key. And luckily, nobody ever had to do that, right? Obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the sites. I have just a couple pictures, I think, when they were constructing it. And then we're going to talk about a star party that is coming up right at the missile site a little bit later this month, next week, I think. So we'll talk about that when we come back with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you. Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are once again joined by Rob Branting. He's the state supervisor at the Ronald Reagan Minuteman Missile State Historical Site. And we've been talking about what actually a missile site is and was, and it has been decommissioned. And so, Rob, I'm wondering, what is the power of just one of those missiles, and how do you decommission them?
You know, with the Minuteman program, it's interesting after the Cuban Missile Crisis with some of the missile development going on. We weren't super accurate early on. That was something we really had to progress into with technology. Of course, neither were the Soviets. But we had very large, what were called megaton range warheads on these early Atlas and Titan missiles. So by the time you get to Minuteman, you're looking at 335, 350 kiloton warheads. There's 3 of them. You're looking at something, each of those being this about 25 times the size of the Hiroshima bomb. So still very destructive, but by the Minuteman III, you're looking at a weapon system that was very accurate. So they didn't need to have large warheads.
So how did they decommission the silo?
Well, we had the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty signed with the Soviet Union in 1991 when it was still the Soviet Union. We both said, hey, you know, we're going to take it out so many of these strategic nuclear weapons. And the United States decided to shut down the Ellsworth, South Dakota field, the Whiteman, Missouri field, and then up here at the Grand Forks, North Dakota field. So basically, they took the enclosure door of these missile silos, drug them off into a big hole because they were too large to destroy. They planted high explosives in the missile silo. They imploded them, and they left them open for 90 days so Russian satellites could view them, but also Russian inspectors could come over and view the sites to make sure they were decommissioned. And of course, we did the same thing over there in Russia. With the missiles, some of them actually went off to Montana where they're still in service in some form. They've been greatly modified over the years, changed up. And basically, if the warheads had been deactivated, they sent them down to a place called Pantex plant in Texas and disassembled them and take the radioactive things out.
So there were quite a few that were decommissioned. I think I saw one for sale in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, with these sites, you know, there were 15 control sites, 150 missile silos, but back in 2020, there was one called a remote sprint launcher, which was very unique to North Dakota. There was 4 of them, only 4 of them ever built, but they were tied into what was called the Stanley R. Mickelson Safeguard Complex. And basically, we explained it as in nuclear missiles to shoot down incoming Soviet nuclear missiles to protect the Minuteman nuclear missiles. And they were only in service for a very short amount of time in the 1970s, but a very fascinating system of about 100 interceptors to hopefully shoot down those Russian warheads that are coming in way faster than a speeding bullet.
Why would somebody want to buy a decommissioned silo?
There's a lot of ideas out there. I mean, personally, it would just be cool to have something like that. Of course, I'm a big Cold War buff, but there's been a lot of history of different bunkers around the world. They open up for tourism places. Remote Sprint Launcher 3 is actually opened up as a tourism site, I believe, up there by west of Cavalier. But, over in France, they use them for mushroom farming. Some of the bunkers over there. Over here, some people have made houses out of them. And a lot of, different variations on that.
Interesting. To buy, a decommissioned missile site. Interesting.
It is interesting. How did you end up a site supervisor? How did you get to this role?
I feel like I lucked out. Honestly, my career's been in Cold War history. It's been kind of tough to get into that. I went for tourism back in the University of Nebraska, but interned up there with the National Park Service at Minuteman Missile National Historic Site. Came back to Nebraska, was looking for history jobs. This one came up and had to jump on it. And ever since then, in 4 years, it's been an absolute joy just working up here. I love the state. I honestly, I was warned about, the cold winters up here, but it's been quite an adventure, and you meet just a lot of wonderful people up here.
What a great combination, tourism, and then you have a love of Cold War history. Where can you find a job that brings those two together?
Oh,
amazing. Yeah, a job just for you. I want to just take a quick look at a couple pictures we have. Tell us what those are, and then we'll move on to the star party. Okay.
Okay, this is actually an unfortunate photo because you're looking at the capsules there. The larger one in the background is the Launch Control Center. The one in the foreground is the Launch Control Equipment Building, but all that white stuff around it is snowmelt from the bad 1965 winter season. So basically, they're building these sites at a very rapid pace. But by November 1964, they're realizing, hey, we got to get stuff going here. We got to get the concrete curing. By the 20th, it dropped below zero up here for several weeks. And basically, they suffered a little bit of damage, but they were right back there in the spring to get the missile sites open by late 66.
Wow, they must have been in a hurry when you have to work through the snow. And then what is this?
Well, right there, you're looking at a launcher equipment building. They only had one capsule out there at the missile silos, but within that capsule, you had an emergency generator, something called a brine chiller, a lot of support equipment to make sure that missile silo would keep working remotely after a nuclear attack, because those missile silos were all unstaffed, and they hoped they ran them by remote.
Interesting. I want to move on now. I'm sorry, one more picture. Tell us what this is.
Well, that's a pretty neat picture of a Minuteman 3, kind of a mock-up there. When you look at those missile silos, you compare them to like some of they were called the Atlas F ICBMs, the same rockets that put Mercury astronauts into space. Basically were not great for military usage because they were liquid fueled, very expensive, very hard to handle. So by the time you get to Minuteman, you had these 90-foot silos, you had these missiles sitting there in kind of a cradle there, and that's on purpose so it can kind of spring back and forth in case you had a near miss of a nuclear weapon. But that is how a Minuteman 3 would be configured in its silo.
Interesting. Okay, I want to move on to the star party because I think this is so cool. This Wednesday, it starts at 10 to 1 a.m. You're going to watch a meteor shower. Tell us about it.
Well, from 10:30 to 1 a.m. in the morning out here on August 11th, it's kind of ironic because these missile alert facilities look like football fields as you drove by them in the old days because there were big stadium lights, there was security all around. Today, we don't really have that issue, and we can turn off the lights up here. We're 4 miles north of Cooperstown. We're well away from major cities. So we're looking at a fairly dark sky site up here. And back in 2020, when the comet was going on, I thought, I was out here kind of by myself, and it was like, this would be a great place for folks to come see the night sky. So we had this idea this year for the August Perseid showers. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But basically, it's supposed to be one of the best in years with it's not a new moon, but it's pretty dark out there. And we're just hoping to have folks come out here, bring a couple blankets, lay out in the grass, and just enjoy the show.
I actually found a couple photos from a Perseid meteor shower from 2 years ago. Now, we don't have the mountains out in North Dakota, but this is basically the meteor shower that we're hoping to see, right?
Yeah, hopefully something like that. It really depends. They say it could be a lot of meteors coming in at once. These basically sand-sized particles coming in through the atmosphere at just super high speeds. Hopefully we'll see a few, every few minutes. But it's hard to tell. You never know how these events turn out. And we're definitely hoping for no clouds.
Oh, definitely.
Or smoke.
Yeah. No clouds or
smoke,
smoke, yeah. And if there does happen to be clouds, then you're rescheduling it for the next day, right? Thursday, August 12th?
Right. We didn't want to reschedule too far in the future just because of, that was the peak time for the meteor showers. So we're hoping we stay clear.
Where does somebody need to go to get more information?
Well, if you look us up, the Ronald Reagan Minuteman Missile State Historic site up on internet search, we have some information on our main site. We're also up on Facebook, and basically from there we've had a few press releases kind of announcing the party. We don't have a lot of events up here, so check us out on the internet.
It sounds like a great time. Yeah, so, well, thanks, Rob, for joining us. I hope you get a nice, clear night on August 11th.
Oh, definitely. Fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll see a nice show.
Yeah, we'll check back and see what happened there. So we'll be right back with Ladies of Another View on Back for the Lighter Side.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after hours oasis of sanity. Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Could you do us a favor? Beck TV is a finalist for Best Local TV Station in the Bismarck Tribune's Best of the Best. Vote now through August 9th by text or online. Vote for your leader in local, Beck TV.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. And Andrea, have you been watching the Olympics at all?
I've seen the little clips that show up on my social media feeds.
I've been doing the same thing, just kind of watching, keeping track. I haven't actually been watching any events, but one very exciting event, it was the women's Olympic wrestling. And Tamyra, what is her name, Mensah-Stock, she won the gold, first time ever in the United States. And boy, was she excited. It's fun just watching her talk about it. So let's watch this. Isn't that fun?
Oh, she definitely looks like she's having a good time.
Yeah, she's pumped. I guess she would be after you win a gold medal. First time ever in the history of the United States for a women's event in wrestling. And I watched, I read some of the interview afterwards, that she's so excited that she can be a role model now to other girls.
Yeah, it's one of those more obscure sports. It's not one you think of first for women for what they want to do for the Olympics, but I have just enjoyed watching the videos of kids watching the Olympics. There's one of this little girl who's just watching the weightlifters doing the big heavy dumbbells or whatever they're called. So she goes and she says she's so strong, and it's just so adorable. I love that we have such a diverse lineup of role models for people in the United States. It's great.
There does seem to be a lot of diversity of different people representing our country, which of course is wonderful. I love it. And I didn't really know much about women's wrestling, and I think I have a lot to learn too, because I don't know, do the schools around here have women's wrestling?
They must. They must. I have to think about this. I have cousins that wrestle, but I know there's boys wrestling. We'd have to look and see if there's girls wrestling here.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that sometimes if there's not a girls wrestling team that the girls can wrestle on the boys team, but you know.
We do that in other sports. I'm not sure about wrestling.
Yeah, that seems like you'd be a little unevenly matched, but.
And they do it by weight classes, so.
Well, that's true. Now, women would have an advantage there, right? Because men tend to be heavier.
I mean, in general, they're larger.
Yeah. I loved watching Tamyra, though, or Tamyra. Tamyra is her name. And, you know, to be that excited and proud of her country. If you're going to represent the United States in the Olympics, you should kind of like your country, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's part of the point. It's part of the joy. It's part of the spirit of it, so.
That's what I was disappointed with women's soccer. I think they won the bronze, didn't they, women's soccer? And that they had badmouthed the United States a lot. And so I saw a lot of stuff on social media, not really excited about them, not really caring if they won or lost. And I thought, well, that's kind of sad. I like us all to be together when it comes to the Olympics.
It is good. It is good to be together on stuff. Though I can't say that I spend a lot of time paying attention when they don't want to be a part of the team. So.
Well, that's my point, yeah. All of a sudden, it takes away the joy, the fun, the excitement. You're like, okay, whatever. We kind of aren't really rooting for you because you're not rooting for the United States.
Well, okay, but if we're watching the sprints and it's Usain Bolt on the field, like, we all are Jamaican.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I do appreciate just watching that, athletes that are so good at their sports.
Absolutely.
Like gymnastics in the wintertime, figure skating. What are your favorite sports to watch?
I do really like gymnastics. I thought I would be a gymnast when I was little, so I like watching gymnastics a lot. I like the obscure stuff. I like the fact that we have the option to watch like skeet shooting and like all this stuff that you would never see on television. You wouldn't go to a competition, but you get to watch the pros do it so well, and I love that. And you get to see so many different choices and options, and it's not all soccer and track.
Yeah, we should take a list at the different sports. I bet field
So
hockey,
much
climbing. Is there an Olympic skateboarding?
There is now. They used to have their own separate thing.
Wow, I got to take a look at that. That
Yeah.
is so cool. Yeah, I know it took a while for snowboarding, because it was always skiing, and then when I used to ski in Montana, and they did not allow snowboarders on the slopes because they thought they were too dangerous. And eventually it became an Olympic sport. So,
what's your favorite to watch?
I like ski jumpers. I like really swimming. Swimming is fun, right? And gymnastics too. Gymnastics. Who could not like gymnastics and figure skating?
They're so dynamic.
They're so amazing to see what the human body can do.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's scary, but which is why with Simone Biles, I know that she initially got a lot of criticism, but then we talked about it that, you know, this could be life-threatening. You could injure yourself. It's so precise. And I think a lot of these sports, you know, like the ski jumpers, my goodness, if you don't land just right, you could be in trouble.
Precision counts.
Yep, in a lot of things. But for now, we'll leave it there. And coming up next is Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp. And Andrea will be back again tomorrow to talk about whatever she wants to talk about, right?
Oh, I get to pick.
Yeah, we'll let you pick and go from there. So yeah, and we'll talk some more about the Olympics too. Hopefully we'll get some more gold medals with some more enthusiastic sportsmen.
There you go.
I love that. So we'll be right back tomorrow with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 15 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota.
I really like the fact that it was made in the USA. I think that USA products are a better quality product. I've tried a lot of other pillows and nothing's worked like MyPillow.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
I used to think that sheets were just sheets. I got the Giza Dream sheets. They are the most comfortable sheets I've ever had.
The Go Anywhere pillow is so easy to just roll up and take anywhere I want to go.
Go Anywhere pillow is really comfortable, so that's what I really like. It's nice and supportive and it's nice and small.
The MyPillow topper for the first time has enabled me to have a cool night's sleep. I'm able to go to bed and just get rest.
That's 3 inches of wonderful that's in the MyPillow mattress topper. It's just like a firm cloud.
MyPillow helps me get a good night's sleep so I can do my job in the morning.
Go to MyPillow.com to get deep discounts, not just on my pillows, but so much more. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust is a proud supporter of Bismarck Cancer Center, and we couldn't be more honored to further assist them in expanding local state-of-the-art treatment for our citizens. With the capital campaign currently in progress, not only will their expansion include new square footage from this to this, but also additional medical equipment for radiation treatment and caring support to better serve their patients. We invite you to contact Bismarck Cancer Center for donations and naming opportunities towards their expansion.